Hello, everybody. How you doing? Welcome to the. I don't know. I am just so discombobulated. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the big show. My name is Mickey, and this is Mickey in the Middle, the quintessential show for Middle Americans, where all Middle Americans are welcome. It doesn't matter where you've been, doesn't matter where you go. It just matters that you're here right now and you consider yourself a Middle American. I am so sorry. I did not realize that I had not paid my Restream bill, and so I good to go. And it went. We're not gonna let you start tonight. Contact service. And I tried it again, and I tried it again, and anyway, uh, I immediately clicked over and paid all my bills, so I'm good for another year. That's right, Mickey in the Middle is going to be coming to you every Wednesday night, if not more, for the foreseeable future. So, anyway, Carolyn Greg's Ledger is the first one in on the Mickey in the Middle chat line. Just want to say congratulations on the gold medal, Carolyn. It's always great to hear from you. Thank you very much for participating every single Wednesday with us or whenever we have a show. Cannot tell you how much we appreciate that. All right. So, oh, right. Now that I've got my stuff together and I'm not panicking anymore. Hey, Don Ledger. Hey, look, there's a couple of ledgers there right there in the chat. So good to see you out there in Arizona. Hope everything is good for you. So now that everything is calmed down, the show is good for another year. Let's go ahead and get in this. Today, we are going to be talking about federal employees. The reason why I chose this topic is Doge and Donald Trump is treating the federal employees like they don't matter. And they're like, hey, it doesn't matter. They're not doing anything anyway. They're just taking up space. And then the message changes from day to day. The message is all federal employees are not good and the government is broken, to, well, we're only trying to get rid of the bad ones. And that is that the messaging is bad. The messaging is bad. And here's what I think. I think you got two people on the spectrum. I think you got Trump is on the spectrum. I think that Musk is on the spectrum. I think that those guys are billionaires for a reason. I think that the way that they think is different than the rest of us. I don't think that they consider what the people are doing as a major consequence to what actually happens in the country. I really don't think that. I think that they just think that, hey, the way that they see the world is the way that they see the world. And they're like, hey, look here, we need to get rid of people. We need to make the government smaller. So let's start over here with personnel, because personnel is the biggest part of the budget. And we're going to start with personnel, and we're going to go ahead and look for fraud, waste, and abuse. And away we go. So we're going to talk a little bit about employees in the federal government. Before we get started, I got to have a huge shout out to my friend, Miss Anita, who works at the DMV here in Cabot, Arkansas. Today, I was sitting in the garage after I got my bikes back from Sunrise Honda up in Searcy, Arkansas, which is a powerhouse dealer, a Honda powerhouse dealer. So anyway, they brought me my bikes back, and I was looking at my bike, and the tag had expired on my Goldwing. So I was like, wow, that's weird. I usually am not one to have expired tags on my bike. And it expired like in June of last year. So I grabbed the registration. I grabbed the registration, and sure enough, the registration was bad. And I'm like, that's really weird, because I remember changing out a lot of my registrations through the years, or through the last couple of months. So I grabbed it and I went over to the DMV, and there was Miss Anita, one of my favorite people in Cabot, Arkansas. She's always got a smile. She's always so friendly. And there she was, and I handed her the thing, and I said, I don't know what happened. She went, whoa, something happened. This is not good. Do you still own the bike? And I said, yes. And she goes, did you buy another bike? And she figured it out. And 15 minutes later, after she had made a phone call and she had looked at her computer, she got me all straightened up. And apparently somebody had entered something in error, and I didn't get a renewal notice. So anyway, big, huge shout out to Miss Anita. The reason why I want to start with Miss Anita tonight is because Miss Anita is the quintessential government employee. She's a government employee. So she works for Lonoke County in the DMV. And what do they call that? Revenue? The revenue office? So you go in there to the DMV and they do all of the money and they make sure that you get your cars registered and they do the driver's license and all that. It's DMV. She shows up every single day. She does her best every single day for all of the people that get up to her window all the time. It doesn't matter what the problem was. It doesn't matter what the problem is. Doesn't matter what the problem's going to be. Miss Anita is going to be there and she is going to do her best to help you out. And she's been doing this year after year after year. When I go in there and I get my number off of the wall, I pray that Miss Anita is the person that I get to see. Now, when I walk in, I always say hi to Miss Anita anyway. It doesn't matter whether she is there, it doesn't matter whether she's taking care of me. I always wave to Miss Anita. She always waves back. We always have a really quick conversation because she's always busy helping people. I want to use her as a standard bearer for all employees that work for governments. Now, she works for the state of Arkansas. She's not a federal government employee, but here's what the thing is. She is valuable in what she does what she does for our community. And I'm going to tell you, it's a joy to be able to walk in there to a DMV and be able to be taken care of by somebody like Miss Anita. Now, DMV, secondary reason I bring this up is the DMV's got a bad rap. But when I run into Miss Anita, I don't think that it's got a bad rap. I think that, wow, she's a quintessential employee of the DMV and of the revenue department here in Lonoke County, then we got it going on. But she took care of me. So that's where we're going to start the conversation today. So let's get down right to our stuff. First, we're going to look at the Constitution of the United States of America preamble. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. I love that. Current world population, 8,208,000,000. The world debt clock is up to $36 trillion. Wow, that's a lot of money we owe. 36,500,000,000. So this is still in the fives, so that's good. So 36,530,000,000,000. So let's talk about employees. Are you guys ready to do this? All right. Now everybody knows that Donald Trump has fired a whole bunch of employees. He sent them a letter and said, take 8 months worth of a severance package, or we're going to be cutting big. And then as soon as the timeline was up for that, then all of a sudden everybody that was on probation got fired by the government. The majority of people that were on probation got fired from the government. That affected a lot of people. That affected thousands and thousands of people that thought that they were going to have a job, and all of a sudden they didn't have a job anymore. Now, here's what the thing is about that. Do you know why Donald Trump had to send a letter and why he had to offer him severances? Because there are rules and regulations by which the President of the United States has to use in order to execute his duties according to the law. He can't just go in there willy-nilly. He's got to be able to go, all right, who can I fire? Who can I not fire? And what's the legal ramifications of all this? Now, why is that important? Because I've been accused of being unsympathetic, not compassionate. And I am compassionate. Believe me, I don't want anybody to get fired. I would like everybody to do a good job for whoever they're working for. Nobody get fired and we can go on. However, that's not going to happen. As we move forward, they're going to shrink the size of government. They're going to go in there and they're going to take machetes to the forest. They're going to knock down all of the trees that they can. They're going to thin out the undergrowth. It's like the wildfires in California. They're going to get rid of the undergrowth. They're going to get rid of all the dead wood. They're going to make it a safe place to be. And that's where they're starting the United States government. Now, Donald Trump, you've heard about all of the all of the lawsuits that have been brought against Donald Trump and Elon Musk going into the court system. And here's the thing is, Donald Trump has been winning the vast majority of those cases. But there's one thing that you need to know about. You know how Donald Trump keeps talking about merit-based systems, and you need to have a merit-based system, and you're going to have to tell me the 5 things that you did last week in order to keep your job, or order to see who is still working and see who's going to comply and who's not going to comply. Well, that's a big deal because if you have to justify your job, everybody should be able to justify their job. And they should be able to come up with the 5 statements that they had, or the 5 statements, 5 things that they did last week. I will use another example. Earlier, I used Miss Anita, but now I'm going to use Miss Geraldine. Miss Geraldine, a couple of months ago, when I was applying for Social Security, picked up the phone when I called Social Security, and she lives in Albuquerque, New Mexico. She started asking me a series of questions that I had already answered on the computer, but she said, "Yes, sir, I would like to go through this with you just real quick to make sure that your information is correct." And then she asked me some questions that I had already answered. And then she was like, "Well, you might have taken the wrong option because you said that you were married and that your spouse died. Let me look if you would have taken Social Security under your wife's account, what that would do." Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it raised the benefit of Social Security to me by almost $800. And I was like, "How is that possible? I made more money than my wife the entire time." She goes, "Sir, that's the way that it calculates. They don't punish her for losing her life on her Social Security journey. And they don't blame you for her doing that. That's just the way the system was set up in order we can have that safety net for people. And you are falling into the safety net of the United States government." So Miss Geraldine actually made sure that I was getting more in my federal benefits than I would have otherwise gotten. I really like that because she took care of me so well. She was like, "Hey, you're going to have to take these documents right here to the office in Sherwood, Arkansas, wherever that is. And when you do that, then I will get that, and then we will set that up." And I'll be damned, less than 2 weeks later, I was getting Social Security, and it was off of my wife's account. That is an excellent employee. That is the way that the federal government is supposed to work. That when somebody calls you, or when you call somebody in the federal government, they answer your questions, they take care of you. Now, that doesn't always happen, right? Sometimes you call different agencies and they just blow you off, right? Try to call the IRS. You can't call the IRS. You know, you can't call the IRS. You can't talk to a human being in the IRS. Believe me, I've tried. Uh, I'm going to just stop right there. I'm not going to give you all of the examples of the people that I have called and the people that could not answer my question, but I'm going to use Miss Geraldine and Miss Anita as my 2 employees. And that brings me to this. My friend Brian McCullough wrote something about employees and he posted it on his website. And the reason I'm doing this is because I believe that this captures best the information, the way of the vast majority of federal employees are seen. That's the way that they see themselves. And because the vast majority of federal employees are outstanding. Now, I'm going to get into the bad and I'm going to get into the ugly, but right now we're going to talk about the good. So this is by Smokey, my friend. We were in the 29th Weapons Squadron together. I don't know. I've known him for so long, I don't even know where we met, but we met in C-130 World. The name of this piece by Brian McCullough is "I'm Not the Devil." Smokey wrote this. He's my friend. "I'm a federal employee. I am not your enemy. I am a thread in the fabric of this nation, woven tight, unseen, uncelebrated. I do not set my own agenda. I do not scheme in back rooms or trade favors in whispers. I follow laws written by hands that have never done this work. I follow rules rewritten with every new administration, but never ask what should change. I should not be punished for doing my job. I should not be shamed for serving my country. I do not do this for riches. You can Google my paycheck. You will find no envy there. I'm not a politician, just a pawn in their games. I do not take kickbacks. I do not get insider tips. I'm a nurse, a scientist, a protector of our natural resources. I'm a veteran, forged in sacrifice, once stationed in places so remote that they do not exist on maps, only to continue my service and be called a cog, a bureaucrat, an obstacle, a pencil pusher. I'm the one who fixes your roads, who keeps your water clean. I am who ensures your tax returns arrives. I seek cures for diseases that steal memories, that take mothers from children. I live in third world countries to prevent pandemics coming to yours. I defend and care for those who once defended you. No one makes a reality show about my life. No camera follows long nights, the exhaustion, the quiet victories. No headlines celebrate the crisis averted before they became disaster. I do not get a bonus for coming in under budget. I cannot sell my work to the highest bidder. I go to work, I do my job, I come home to my family. If you want me to do something else, change the policy, write Congress, change the law. I cannot do this on my own. I know how to do this better, cheaper, more effectively, more efficiently, but no one listens. No one cares what I think. I'm not your enemy. I am the reason the gears still turn, the reason the lights stay on. I'm the reason the ground does not crumble beneath your feet. I do not take an oath to be president or a party. My oath is to the Constitution, to the people, to the principles that built this nation. I ask for nothing other than allow me to serve my country honorably. I am not the devil. By Smokey Brian McCullough. That beautiful? Thank you very much, Smokey. I appreciate that. It's true. The majority of people that are in federal service serve this country honorably. And all of the things that are listed in there, from the roads crumbling, the people that maintain the roads are your public servants, the people that answer the phones, the people that keep the lights on, the people that do the public utilities, the people that pick up the trash, the people that serve the nation. They're wearing the blue, they're wearing the nurses that are in the VA, that are in the Department of Commerce, that are Department of Energy, Department of Education. The vast majority of those folks that are spread out through this country from stem to stern are doing an incredible job. There is an incredible amount of good work that these people are doing, but we don't see that. It's behind the scenes. Hey, Anita's with us. And Anita says, thank you, Mickey. I work for the taxpayers of Arkansas. Yes, she does. And she does an outstanding job about that. Thank you, Miss Anita. I greatly appreciate it. The reason why I bring that up is there is a misconception out there about what is right and what is wrong and what is merit based. And Donald Trump has not asked the question of so many employees is what is your merit? What have you done? What have you, how have you, how can you justify what you're doing? How are you the expert in your field? Which reminds me that somebody brought a suit against Donald Trump. Let's go talk about that real quick. U.S. judge blocks Trump removal of Democrat from a government workplace board. Let's talk about this. U.S. District Judge Randolph Contreras in Washington, D.C. issued a temporary restraining order preventing Trump administration from removing Kathy Harris from her position on the Merit System Protection Board while he considers her lawsuit alleging that her termination was unlawful. This case is one of several brought by chairs and members of independent boards who've been fired by Trump once he took office. Here's why this is important. The Washington, D.C. Merit System Protection Board unlawfully dismisses what they do. Let me just tell you what they do. They find out whether you are being dismissed from the government illegally. So when they bring a lawsuit against Donald Trump, they're saying that this dude is operating illegally and that he does not have the ability to fire me because I actually know how this system works. Now, the judge said, I'm going to have to think about this. Because here's why this is the linchpin. Because if Donald Trump loses this case, then that board can say that all of the other firings in the government were not based on merit firings. And that means that they're going to have to, who knows what it means? I can't speculate, but it might mean that they're going to have to hire everybody back. I don't know. Isn't that the craziest thing? Somebody on the Merit System Protection Board. I'm going to read this real quick so that you can hang with me. The Merit System Protection Board is an independent federal agency that ensures that federal workforce is managed consistent with merit system principles. It also protects employees against prohibited personnel practices, including reprisal for whistleblowing. In 2020, Harris was appointed by former President Joseph Biden to serve a 7-year term. Trump purported to terminate Harris from her position in a one-sentence email without providing reason. Harris argues that members can only be terminated for inefficiency, neglect of duty, or malfeasance in office. That's why she did a lawsuit. So they know. So here's the deal: is Trump is pushing up against it. Why is that important? Well, the reason why that is important is because the next couple of minutes I'm going to try to share with you what I believe to be the bad and the ugly side of the federal employment system. And by the way, I have a bunch of friends of mine that are federal workers. A bunch of them. Some of some of my daughter's friends work for NASA. And I hope that they put, hey, what did you do last week to justify your job? I hope they put kept astronauts alive on the International Space Station, monitored life support systems in the International Space Station, showed up at work and poured coffee for the director of flight operations. Who knows what they're going to put? But that's what they did. They're like, hey, we're going to offer you 8-month severance. And then they said, send us the 5 things. But I have other people that work in Air Force bases, people that work at Army bases, people work in different, the Department of Post or the United States Postal Service, work for the Marshal Service, work for the CIA. So there's a whole bunch of different people that I know that are working the system. The people that I don't know are the people that I'm going to talk about right now. Because I pay attention to a lot of different things. I don't watch a lot of news, but I do watch a lot of hearings, and I do listen to what's going on in the world. First thing I would like to talk about is somewhere in the Department of Justice, they had National Security Agency, they had set up a blog, a sex talk room where they could talk about sex. This was a work email. You know how you get in a chat room? This is a work chat room, or chat mail, chat texting. And they're talking about sex. I don't care what business you are in. If you are not directly in the sex business for the United States government, doing research into that, you should not be talking about sex at work. Heterosexual, not heterosexual, the LGBTQIA plus, hetero, whatever, I don't care, shouldn't be talking about sex at work. That's not good. That's not good. And some of the reports that are coming out of there, I mean, you got to be kidding me. Who would think that it's okay to do that at work? And they go, well, it's just a chat room. No, it's not just a chat room. That is decorum. There are some things that you don't do in public. There are some things that you keep private. No office should have ever set this up. No office should have ever allowed this. No office should ever say that, hey, you know what? It's a good idea to just go ahead and have this chat room and talk about sex all the time. You shouldn't be talking about religion at work. You shouldn't be talking about religion at work and what makes your religion better or good or your lack of it. Right? It should be an agnostic workplace. Nobody should be pushing the agenda of whatever religion you are. Now, you can carry your religion to work because that defines who you are as a human being. But here's what the deal is. As soon as you get into that environment, you got to understand that the government is not the place to do that. You can go home, you can go to church, you can go worship whatever you want. But when you get inside of that, you got to have agnostic. You got to be agnostic when it comes to all of the things that are protected classes, races, creeds, religion, age, sex, gender. All of that needs to be neutral if you're going to be working for the government. Can you imagine if you had a police officer that was going out there that was pushing an agenda of religion or ageism or race? No, you got to be neutral in your workplace. That's not always happening. But let's talk about the ugly. Let's talk about the ugly. Here's the problem for federal employees. A few people make the situation bad for everybody. Did you know that Gordon Sondland was an ambassador for the United States State Department and Europe and is a special envoy to Ukraine? Do you know why this is important? Because he misunderstood what the Trump White House had said to him, and then Trump got impeached because of it. There's good, credible evidence that in 1991, the United States and Russia made a deal that said Russia or that NATO would not get any closer to Russia. And then in 1994, the CIA, USAID, and the State Department worked to undermine the fact that NATO was restricted to Europe, and then they started expanding NATO against the conversations that the Americans and the Russians had about not taking NATO and going further into countries. Somebody in the government decided to do that, and they decided to expand NATO. So because they decided to expand NATO, the next thing you know is these people got the big idea that that was their job to make the decisions about that, and the employees in those organizations went rogue. That's the problem with USAID. The problem with USAID is the fact that they were taking taxpayer money and then fitting the world the way that they wanted to fit the world, and they were paying off different organizations in countries in order to overthrow governments. Yes, the Arab Spring in Egypt and in countries that were in the Middle East. Yes, USAID, CIA, the State Department, they made that happen. They made the Ukraine thing happen. They made all of the government changes in a lot of the Central American and South America. They made all those things happen. They were going rogue. I don't know who they were working for, but here's the thing is, I believe that they used some of that against the United States of America. Those are bad federal employees. Gordon Sondland is a classic example. When I was watching the second impeachment of Donald Trump, he was sitting in there, and somebody asked him, one of the congressmen asked him, he said, "Who in the White House told you that there was going to be quid pro quo, that Donald Trump would guarantee a meeting with Zelensky if somebody in the Ukrainian government investigated Hunter Biden?" And then he went, "Well, nobody told me that." And they were like, "What do you mean nobody told you?" It's just, well, nobody said that. But he went and told everybody that's what the deal was. Everybody said, "Hey, look here." So Gordon Sondland was the one during the testimony in Congress for the impeachment. He went rogue. He was like, "Yeah, we got to get a meeting in order to do this. You got to get the meeting. Got to get the meeting. If you get dirt on Donald, or if you get dirt on Hunter." Here's the other crazy thing about that. All of the stuff that revolved around Ukraine, I think that there's a good chance that Hunter Biden was actually working for the federal government. Does that blow your mind? That Devin Archer and Hunter Biden were working for the United States government, being paid through some NGO in order to influence the political actions and to spread money around in Ukraine in order to get certain people elected and to get certain people fired, in order to make it more likely that the Ukraine would get in a war with Russia. And the people that were in Ukraine were just going, "Hey, I can get elected? Well, of course I'm going to go along with you. Of course we're going to be good buddies. We're going to be good friends." So that's the good, bad, and the ugly of the federal employees. Because the simple fact of the matter is that the bad ones overshadow the good ones. And now Donald Trump and Elon Musk are prejudiced against all federal employees. They're like, hey, look here, they're just people. They're just doing their job. If we cut them, they're in the United States of America. They can go make it on their own. They can go work in they can go work in the private sector. That's literally what they think. They think that the government is bloated. They need to cut it by 25%. They're just going to take it and 25% gone. Go do something else. You're not our problem anymore. We are. And then you go, hey, well, what about the systems? Who's going to be that person that's in Albuquerque, New Mexico, that takes care of Mickey when he calls in about a Social Security problem or a Social Security question? How is that supposed to work? Where does that good person go? Where does Geraldine go? Here's what I'm saying to everybody. We have so many good federal employees. It's an absolute shame that so many of them are going to take a hit on this one. They got my thoughts and prayers, and I know that's not much, but here's what the thing is, man. Just take care of yourself. Do what you got to do. I'll be praying for every single one of you. But the number one thing is we have to support our federal employees, whether they are still employed by the United States government or whether they're going to transition to the civilian sector. They're people. They deserve respect. They don't need to be talked bad about. What Smokey wrote in this article right here that he wrote is like, I am not the devil, is so apropos because the vast majority of people that are in the federal service do not deserve to be treated like trash, and they do not deserve to be unceremoniously dumped on the side of the road to satisfy the fact that the government needs to be reduced. At least you can do it with respect. At least you can do it with a little bit of compassion. You give people a little bit of time. You go, oh, well, we gave them a warning. Yeah, you gave them a fucking warning, but it wasn't compassionate. It wasn't with understanding. It wasn't, hey, look here, you had your shot. Now we're just going to chop you off in the knees. Come on, man. We're better than that. Donald Trump, I'm talking to you. Come on, man. Be cool. Be cool. We're already so far in debt that it's okay for this to last just a little bit longer while we gently transition these folks into the civilian world. Be kind. Kindness is not weakness. So, hey, thank you very much, everybody. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you guys being here. My name is Mickey. This is Mickey in the Middle. Mickey in the middle of the week. Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Please like, share, do all that stuff. Remember, Mickey in the Middle. Good night. God bless. Have a good one. You guys take care. Love you. See you next week. Bye-bye.